Hello, 4 gaming community. We're back again for the 4 gaming Beyblade discussion and Beyblade community as a whole. Talk to the whole Beyblade community. We're here today with episode 7. We have another special guest. Of course, it's going to be me, Crisis Crusher, and then my main man, Arka.Paul. You've heard us talk about him and refer to him on the show, but we have him as a guest today. So without further ado, welcome, man. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing well. So, hey guys, I'm Arka.Paul. I think I'm ranked 22 now after my last few performances gone down. But it's good to be on your show, James. Going.
Oh man, it's good. It's good. I had a lot going on today, so thank you for your patience. I know we started a little bit later than usual, or later than what expected, but yeah, I haven't seen you in a while, man. I've even this tournament, like I won't be able to make it this weekend. I don't know if you're going, but my
Yeah,
dad's
I
coming
am.
into town. You are, yeah. My dad's gonna be here tomorrow, and that's part of my running around today because um, getting the house ready, cutting up the lawn, and now my daughter has softball practice. But it's all good. It's all gonna work out. I'm tired,
Adulting
but
gets busy for sure.
yeah, 100%, 100%. Um, so today is gonna be a little bit different because I'm great friends with or I feel like we're decent friends with Arka.Paul and I know Mike. So it's gonna be more of an open discussion today. We have a few interview questions, but we're really just gonna relax and talk about Beyblade. But first and foremost, though, I'm still gonna ask the infamous question: how'd you get into Beyblade?
So now it's funny, I'm 31 and I started way back when the first gen was out.
Oh,
Same thing, the show was on the TV. I was curious, and I threw tantrums in front of my mom to get my first Beyblade. I was like,
oh,
I see it on the racks, and it's a Dragoon, and that was one of the most popular bays back in the plastic gen. And I was like, I want that Dragoon, mom. I'm not leaving the store until you get me. It
yeah,
was funny.
yeah.
And then I didn't have many back then. I had a few originals and maybe a few fakes because fakes were available easily back then, you know.
Hmm.
I think it's when I got into my high school and later in towards college, I started saving up and buying a bunch more and then started collecting altogether.
Don't, don't.
And yeah, I've enjoyed the plastic gen a lot more because it was the first ones I was introduced to. And then in the metal gen, I liked it, Metal Fusion, and but it felt to me it felt yes, the design is amazing, but it wasn't as fun as plastic because of how kind of dangerous plastic used to be.
Dangerous. I
Yeah.
didn't play with the plastics. Were they like breaking or just sharp edges?
So imagine this: if you have a left spin Beyblade, all your blades are pointed at the left side, and the right
Oh,
spins,
Yeah, yeah,
all the sharp edges are on the spin direction.
yeah.
oh, okay.
Classic Gen was like stuff was gonna break. Like just the way
Okay.
the contact points were. I can't tell you how many drons or Fs I broke.
Oh yes, those are very. So yeah, they would break, and the thing is, you can't like just catch them because if you try to hold them while they're spinning, you would hurt yourself. So
Yeah.
basically, imagine Longinus like guilty or Zwei, but like
Yeah. I cut myself with rage quite a few times when it first came out.
yeah, and Rage too, yeah. So
Yeah.
imagine like all the bays like that. So
Like
Yeah.
look like all you have to do is look at the burst remakes of like Dragoon and them and see how they spin. That's how they spun in plastic.
Yeah. I didn't because I definitely pay attention now, and I know the contact points are in the opposite direction of the spin. That's for any right spin. There are different ways where it's like you know it's not hitting as hard, but at the same time you don't want it to be
yeah,
pointing in the direction they're going because that's dangerous for you trying to get it, and also possibly more than likely breaking your bay or somebody else's. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
And back then you didn't even have like string launchers, by the way. You would only have the the rip cords, and they
Yeah.
used to call them rip cords, but yeah, those normal standard launchers. Uh, but they were fast. They some of those things were like made me really curious because the metal weight in the center could be different. You could have a magnetic weight, and
Hmm.
what it did is you had some magnetic stadiums, so you can, depending on the polarity of the magnet of the Beyblade's tip and the core, your Beyblade could like follow its a random path around the stadium, which was really
Hmm.
cool.
And the
That is.
metal weight or the magnet weight disc.
And the magnetic weight disc, yes.
I think
So
I've seen that. I don't know if I saw it in one of. I saw it in a YouTube video. It might have
Night
been
Nightwing.
Nightwing. Did he just make one
yeah, he
like
did
that?
a yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I just saw that. It's the history of Beyblade is. I don't know. It's just real intriguing to me. Like when did you start competing then? Like
Oh, funny thing is I started competing last year.
last year?
Yeah, 2021. Yeah, that's or maybe I'm trying to imagine if I've done an official tournament in 2020. But yeah, I haven't done tournaments. Like even the first tournament it wasn't an official one, and it was still in 2020. I've not done tournaments
Okay,
before that.
okay. Yeah, 2020
Uh,
was the COVID.
Arka.Paul's first tournament was November 7th, 2020.
Yeah, see,
Okay. Where was that at? Was it one of Frost events?
no, so this one was in Franklin.
Oh,
Uh,
so Build a Rob?
Franklin, yeah, this is no Franklin, North Carolina. Yeah, that was Builder Rob's event.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
this one says Cornelia, the Georgia Experience, Georgia's back. That was the tournament name.
Yeah. I think that was still
Mm,
Build a Rob though, wasn't it?
it was. So I might be. Yeah, it might have been in Georgia then. Wait, is that something you can pull out from my profile? Let me see. Oh yeah, Georgia Experience. Yeah, Cornelia. Yeah. So that's probably, but it was still 2 hours out. So I think it was like Georgia, North Carolina border.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it could have been. I remember looking back. I know Frost and Build a Rob at that point were hosting events from Georgia through North Carolina, just on the west side of North Carolina. Because I wasn't at that point. I wasn't hosting WBO
Yeah.
events.
I mean, I
Um.
started with, Rob's tournament, then I went to Camix. I think it was,
Oh yeah.
and I think I won the next Rob's tournament.
Yeah.
That was in Franklin, yes.
Okay. Okay. Man, I thought I didn't. Well, I knew you weren't competing for too long, at least in the WBO.
Hmm.
Uh, because I had remember, like, I know when I came, and I didn't come too much earlier. Like, I was just in the beginning of 2020. That's when I had my first tournament. I was at Builder Rob's first tournament that he hosted, which was it was packed. It was like supposed to be 24 people, and I probably 50 people showed up, man. We were in this little
Wow.
shop, and it was hot
Yeah.
and humid, and this right before COVID hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was because I mean, if we were trying to catch COVID, that definitely would have been the place to do it. But I think it was a couple of months later, like when all the regulations came. But yeah, man, it's pretty dope that you weren't doing it that long. I guess I want to ask you my second question, or like,
Uh-huh.
have you heard the podcast? Have you listened to any episodes? That's probably I'm putting you on the spot. It's okay if you didn't. like
I I
after it
I
came out,
I
like you
wa-
thought about it.
I thought it was. I'll be honest. I thought this was episode 2, but then when you said episode 7, I was already embarrassed. I was like, "What?"
It's all right. It's all right.
But
So I brought you up because in the first episode, like we talked about like creative combos,
right.
or not really creative combos, but how do
Launch
you gauge?
styles.
Yeah, launch styles and how you gauge a blader's skill. And I brought you up
Hmm.
because of what you did in Florida. And I don't think I've talked about this on the show. Uh, but I remember, and if you listen to Kamek, I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna shout it out. But I remember with the launch with the launch. I think it was the drift combo when he had the infinite Achilles and he was going right and left with it,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
yeah, that was against you in the video. And but I was thinking like, I don't know if that inspired you to make a right spin drift be able to do what it did, but it was dope when I saw it in Florida. Um, it was really dope, and I actually saw CSC Raymond do it, and he had it on Master Diabolos or
Yeah.
Master Bahamut or something like that in Virginia.
Hmm.
But then you brought it down at Summer Games, and you had it on the DB Bay,
Yeah.
and that's all you used pretty much, and you didn't sweep the tournament, but I mean you made it to
Yeah.
final. Yeah. So,
Well,
um,
what his only losses were to Supreme one during Swiss, right?
yeah,
Well,
and then at the end, well, go ahead.
Yeah.
You could tell the story better than we can.
no, yeah. So I think, yeah, there was during the Swiss, I lost to her, but that was also like there were too many ties going on, and I
Right.
think at the same thing kind of repeated itself uh, in the final
Hmm.
rounds, as there were a lot of ties. But I think the ties began more because um, when so it was either the DB on like either it was Belial on right on drift was on right. It was either used and otherwise it was Rage on 3A and drift. Right. It became the moment. I think because it was more of the. I know it was a summer games, but I was like we were all together. If you remember, James, like
Yeah, we're
we
sitting in
we
the
were all
corner.
helping each other. We are like, hey, use this combo. So I remember I made the same combo for Huddy,
Hmm.
and I'm like, just because he was going up against TSO, right? And I was like, okay,
Yeah,
here's this. Let's go throw TSO a curveball, because she's too competitive and like, which is a good thing. But Huddy's not that much of he's too young.
yeah. Huddy
So
is Frost's son.
yeah, for
He's
those
like
who do not know,
7 or 8. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um,
So
yeah. Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
Yeah,
you're
so
good.
I made that same combo and I was like, just use it, just launch it at an angle, and if it's a left spin, just take it easy. But if it's a right spin, launch it at an angle and go for it.
Hmm.
And it was surprising, but he managed to control it just fine.
Yeah.
And you could see TSO being very perplexed, like, wait, what happened? What is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
That combo caught the interest of everybody in the tournament. So what happened is I remember still like pretty much everybody on the fly picked up that combo and started going with it.
Hmm.
Uh, the only catch was I think it was just Union Achilles who managed to control it, who
Yeah.
figured out how to control it. Nobody else was able to control it.
Oh, that specific combo.
Yeah,
The yeah, and that's what I saw because a lot of people were like, "Yeah, I can get it to spin, or I can use that combo too." But I was like, I mean, we joked at tournaments with you, like saying like, "Oh, you have a remote control in your pocket. You just keep it going until you get the win." Um, which was unique. And anybody listening, like or doesn't that doesn't know about drift, drift is amazing in opposite spin. It's like the LED
yeah,
king, you know. But for same spin, it was kind of trash. It still is pretty trash, except for the select few who know how to use it in the same spin and to get that launch like perfectly balanced. Because in I mean, I know I'm not decent with it, and I can get it on a combo where it'll still go in the center, but it doesn't spin as long as it should against same spin. I mean, I would say it does spin as long as I guess the average people do it, but it doesn't do as nearly as well as when you launch it.
well, I'll be
But
honest about some things. Like one thing is parts are dicey.
hmm.
Certain sometimes you get really good parts out of a box, and
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes you don't. But what happens is, and I've seen this with a lot of bladers, right? Um, each blader comes up and pretty much all the bladers that you've seen, James, and including you, your son, all of you guys have come up with some smart combos, right? And that you
Hmm.
came up with, and then you know how to control it. And everybody
Yeah,
has done it,
yeah.
but you'll always find the mix of positivity and negativity. Certain bladers will say, hey, that's a genius combo, it's good thinking, a good strategy, good way of controlling it. And then others will be like, oh, you just got lucky, you just got a good part, you got lucky.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's the haters is what I like to call
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Over
Everybody
never.
But
knows. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Shout out your never. Go ahead, Mike. Do it.
No, that was just fun because then Bobby used it at Frost tournament.
He did.
yeah.
Yeah, that combo was just nuts.
No, never
Yeah.
was also something that, like, and there's another combo I brought up, and actually not a lot of people realized, because every time Frost sees it, he's like, this combo reminds me of somebody who used it. I was like, yeah, I came up with this. So one
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
weirder combos, and it worked even in the State Clash,
Yeah.
was using. Well, I didn't have Perseus then. Perseus was not out, but I used Valkyrie on
Hmm.
Devil with F gear, and I think the armor was 3, and we used. Wait, what's the?
Did you use over?
No, I did not use Over. Over was not out then either. This was.
Over had to have been out because Bobby went to the state clash and he had already used
No,
over
no, no.
with.
But I came up with this combo way before the State Clash.
Oh, so then was it tapered?
Yes, it was tapered. Tapered on Never. So
Okay.
that the only catch is you have to launch it straight. Or like if you're launching it at the edge of the stadium, you have to make sure the tip hits the stadium wall,
Yep.
like, yeah, stadium bottom. The thing about that combo is if you lose control, like if the tapered starts hitting at the beginning, it starts throwing you out of the stadium. But if you manage to launch it right at the center, what happens is it holds a lot of stamina.
Mm.
Never
For
was definitely a sleeper driver when it came
Yes.
out. Like
yeah.
not a lot of people knew how good it was. I didn't even realize how good it was at the time because when it came out, we still didn't have Vanish and F gear. So the Dynamite stuff was really just Ragnarok and what was it? Dynamite.
Dynamite, yeah.
So
Um,
not many people really mess with it. Like people tried using it as like a different Extend Plus on Wheel and Tempest, but
mhm,
it didn't hold up because it's not the same shape as Extend Plus, so it doesn't mesh well with Wheel.
mhm.
So people kind of put it on the back burner and forgot about it. But then
Right.
later on, like I said, the only reason why I figured it out was because I was sitting there trying to find a good same spin combo against a less spin drift, and I
Yeah.
ended up just trying Never with Over and Vanish, and that thing just stayed in the center and had good stamina. I was like, oh, okay, this is good. And I randomly just decided to use it in the Swish rounds at a tournament and just went undefeated. And I'm like, this is
Yeah,
wild. Like, people were not expecting that combo.
yeah,
Yeah, that was a brilliant combo. And the thing is, with Never, because you want it centered, you want it center heavy.
Right.
It's like, imagine the rest of the setup is like a defense setup, but your driver is stamina, and it works beautifully.
Yep.
yeah, yeah. I think well with that, what are some of the like the testings that you do? Because honestly, this could be a question for like both of y'all
Mhm.
because y'all are two of the more creative bladers I know. Like I travel. Both of y'all know I travel from DC, and I've only been to
Yeah.
Florida once, but I travel to East Coast and play often.
Mhm.
Arka, you travel too, man. You come from Atlanta, but anyways, like I know the two of you are probably two of the biggest testers I know. Um, as far as like just consistently testing, and both of y'all could answer this. But I did have it for you, Arca. Like, like what what helps you with the creativity to come out with your combos, come up with the combos and that you come up with?
Uh, well, creativity comes when there's one fun thing before I get into the details of it. The fun thing
Okay.
is I feel, and this might be just my feeling, I feel like Takara Tomy is just playing with us. They will
Yeah.
always give you random booster parts or whatever parts from wherever. And if you notice certain color combos, you see random color combos, right? And some of the parts have different colors. If you put certain color combos together, they make a perfect combo. You're like, wait, why?
Yeah.
It's like
Hey,
TT's playing games with you.
he's talking to you, Mike, because that's exactly what Mike.
That's
He is.
exactly what I have OCD about color combinations, so that's like
Mhm.
the first thing I do, and I like just mess with stuff that way. Like I'm like, oh, this will look cool if I use the color combination this way, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait,
Wait a
what?
second, right? Yeah. And
Yeah.
I do that too sometimes because I'm like, okay, this color combo looks well. And I know Kamek does that too. But you will notice, like, it might not be the the OG color, it might be like a recolor, but they've
Yeah.
always brought out parts that if you put it together, that's a great combo, but they're just playing with you. They will
Yeah.
never release it together. So
Yeah.
Ark, I
you can
swear to
just
God, I'll have to show you like my deck that I use for the
Mhm.
most part. It's all color coordinated, and it looks right and it works beautifully.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, if you remember, James, when I used Bahamut on, not Bahamut, yeah, I did use Roar Bahamut on Drift, and it was
Yeah. The
doing
gig and
well.
the Giga. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for the first time, and that was an experiment for the first time. It was like, okay, that became the OP, right? Everybody wanted to
Uh-huh.
use that, and then TT goes ahead and is like, okay, I'm gonna just launch a Metal Drift with the Roar Bahamut.
Yeah.
Yup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
using Roar Bahamut on Drift like as soon as it came out.
Yeah. I
It's
remember that combo. That was a tournament too that I think you were judging because I made it a finals and I talked about this in a different podcast episode, but I was like, it was a devastating loss that I had because I
Yeah,
was so sad when I lost to Frost because I hard launched and I KO'd myself. That's when I had the Vanish combo on Moment. So that was another thing. Like I was using Moment and
yeah,
same spin. The only person that beat me in same spin with that combo was you. And and you had that roar Bahamut on Drift and but Frost, I think Frost was either trying to use the same combo or something like that, but I had tested it so much. And
yeah.
I think no, I think he had Vanish and Bearing. I can't remember, but I was
It
winning
mm.
and huh?
It was Vanish on Bearing. I remember this. Yes.
Yeah, and I was winning and he was like, "What?" But I had made that combo specifically to beat my son because my son was using Vanish and Bearing. So I was like, "This is a good same spin combo with Moment. It's terrible with opposite spin, but it's
Hmm.
really good with same spin." And yeah, but I remember that day, and I remember your combo because you smashed me with that combo. Um, and it was legit, man. It was legit. Yeah, but Mike does the color coordinating, and so it's funny that you did mention that.
Yes, I mean that's one of those things that I know TT does. Just like they just play their games like down under. But other than that, I think most of it, and I've seen that with especially with Frost as well as like at least I'm an engineer, so I kind of try to put that in perspective and try to see what weight works how. And I mean, pretty much based on if it's an attack, defense, or stamina, you know how to launch.
Hmm.
Which is funny I say that because a lot of my last few tournaments have messed up my launch, and that's one of my biggest uh, flaws I've noticed
Hmm.
is I know how to do it, but when I'm there, I mess up my launch. I've messed up my launch a lot.
Coke.
Yeah, yeah. Well, is that like um what I'm thinking is because we had a tournament I think at the beginning of the year. I think Frost hosted it, and everybody was doing kind of bad because we had taken so long. We had taken a break from playing, and when we all got back out there, like there was a lot of rust. Do you think it's rust, or do you think it was just nerves? Or
It's a bit of both because
yeah,
Rust 100%. I've noticed this a lot. Like if you're doing like bi-weekly tournaments like how we did in 2021, like
hmm,
every 2 weeks we're on it. So what happens is because there's no gap, you're always like playing or practicing at home, or not always, but at least when before the tournament you are.
yeah, pretty
So
consistent.
yeah, so you're up to date with the parts, you're like trying out new things. And I mean, also last year the frequency of um, parts coming out was very high. Like obviously now there are not so many. There's a huge gap between base and parts,
Yeah,
like new
yeah,
parts.
yeah. This is like the longest. I feel like I have had. We've had this. What is it, Divine Bilal?
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel
yeah,
like it's been a good year that this thing has been on pre-order. I've been waiting, and we still have some time to go. What till tomorrow it releases? This feels like forever. Yeah.
yeah, and with like yeah, with DB we did get a lot new different kind of parts,
Hmm.
and which is still going to like. Here's the thing: if people start take the time, and I know I would want to, is like take time to figure out the DB parts because we were so busy figuring out new stuff with the previous parts last year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like All Might, right? I know All Might has a good potential. I'm just trying to figure out how. I'm still working on it. I know it works really well with Guilty.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that could
Oh,
be,
you
yeah.
know what? Have you seen that, Mike? Have you seen
What?
anybody use it with Guilty?
Use
All
what?
Might?
All
All
Might?
Might?
Other than when I test with it, no.
Yeah, because I know most people use All Might. They use it with like like Dynam. I can't remember what did it come with?
Um,
Dangerous?
yeah, Dangerous
Dangerous.
One.
Like the garbage layer?
Yeah, I see people will use it with Dangerous, or people will use it with like Perfect Bilal, but I've never seen it been used with
No,
Guilty.
when I mess into DB Stadium, I use it sometimes. Like when I've been testing into DB Stadium,
Hmm.
that's where I really like try All Might out because obviously it's a DB part. So let's try
Yeah,
it in the DB Stadium where it was designed for.
yeah,
I
So
mean, yeah, but All Might, like if we can just control the launch, it can work in any stadium. It just has to be the
yeah,
launch.
yeah.
yeah.
Um,
I've also messed with it on Ultimate, especially after the recolor came out.
yeah. And also, I know you said Dangerous is trash part, but if you think hard, Dangerous is almost like Spanish, but Dangerous with F gear might be trash. No, a lot of people think that Dangerous is trash, but Dangerous has a nice
It's got a lot of rubber
shape.
on it.
It's
Yeah.
rubber and it has a nice shape that can help push down, but with F gear, I don't think it makes sense. My opinion.
No, I mean, I like talking. I like talking to both of y'all because both of y'all have different um I don't know.
Similar and different.
Yeah, yeah, similar and different views on the game. Like you are both creative, but you're creative in different ways. And like what you were saying about like last year, yeah, parts were coming out like back to back to back to back to back. So you didn't really have
Yeah,
time to test before a tournament was coming. So you're like, okay, we you just got all these new parts. Like you're gonna do a little bit of testing, and then you have a tournament, and then it's like, okay, there's a tournament next month or in the next couple of weeks, and you're getting like two or three new parts, and you're like it's a rush. So I think the slowing down right now will be a little bit better because I know there's so much more out there that we all can experiment with. And so I was good. It was good uh to hear you say because Mike, you didn't man, I forgot the name of that. What part were we just talking about? The Belial, the
Dangerous.
yeah, dangerous.
Dangerous.
Um Mike, I'm sure you tested, you didn't like it. Arca's like, man, well, I see something, and then I like that. And it could be vice versa, and then someone brings it to a tournament and they do well with it. And it's like, well, man, I didn't think about that. And that's what I like to see, like those creative combos that nobody's really thinking about. Or those creative parts that nobody's really thinking about, and then it works. Because it happened with Never, when Mike, when you threw that on there, it happens a lot, and well, it doesn't happen a lot, but when it does happen,
Well,
it's
it's
great to
Right.
see.
it's
Yeah.
one of those things where, in all actuality, parts have a use. Like every
Hmm.
part basically has a use. It's finding the use for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like every part has a design that's meant to be used for something, and it will. A lot of the parts are very niche. Like they will only work against this one thing, and if you don't see
Hmm.
that one thing, then they're
True.
not going to be worked. They're not
Yeah.
going to work. But they're there for a reason. That's just
Yeah.
how they are.
Right. And like what happens is another thing I've noticed, like for instance, where I was mentioning my devil on tapered and never combo, is a lot of people saw that combo and they wanted to use dynamite because dynamite's heavier. And I've noticed this a lot. People think, oh, the heavier combo is the better combo. It's a big mistake. It is a
Mhm.
big mistake. A lot of people go for weight. The weight thing is not the best thing for every situation.
No.
Yeah, a lot.
What kind of engineer are you? Not to cut you off, but
Oh, I'm actually an electrical engineer.
electrical engineer.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah,
So
I was only thinking about that with the engineering and well, any engineer you still got to take the same courses, but there's um the science and like the physics that goes into Beyblade. Like yes, there is some luck and things like that, but there is a lot of like science
yeah.
behind Beyblade. And when you're talking about the weight, actually, I'll just let you explain it, bro. You explain it a lot better than me. Go ahead.
No, but ideally what happens is if you want more you want the bay to spin like a lot faster, and you want the bay to like have more weight on the you want if you put weight on the outside, you will see it spin faster and you will see it lose control as well because it's that weight is pushing the bay out,
Mhm.
right? But if you want it stable, you want more centered weight. um but of course you're not going to have as much like pace or spin power. um But what the ideal situation would be a concentric weight, like you start from the bottom and then your weight starts going out in a ring shape. Like that's so you need to start realizing that the ideal way is to have not like some weight at the center and some weight on the outside, but how do you like balance it?
Mhm.
You have
Mhm.
so based on that, like if you want a good defense type, throw in all the weight at the center so it just doesn't get knocked out by a bay, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and then stamina is actually funny. You don't want a lot of weight at the center, but stuff like bearing, for instance, that bearing was an OP part. Like this, even when the plastic gen was out. Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
if you have a bearing drive, like back we called them spin gear, but they had a bearing spin gear. So
Mm.
if you had a bearing spin gear, you just pretty much unbeatable. Like if you knew what you were doing.
Yeah.
And so, but now bearing lost more value because it would burst easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But what I loved about like now at burst is there are so many very like stamina drivers to outdo bearing.
Mhm.
Bearing is
I
still
think
relatively good right now in the
yeah,
GT meta, though.
Baron is pretty legit. Which Baron fell off, I think, in Super
Sparking.
King. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
even
Sparking.
GT.
Yeah. GT
Yeah.
two. I was gonna say it fell off then. And
GT it was only really used in like one combo.
what did it use it with?
Double O wall.
Okay.
So they'd use
Oh
it with
yeah,
like that on Lord or something, and that was only just like to be a counter to like the opposite spin match for the what was it, Double O cross high or Extend Plus.
Yeah. Yeah. That combo like wrecked the GT meta. Or was the GT meta pretty much
No,
overall.
Judgment wrecked the GT meta.
Yeah, yeah, facts. Well, at least in North Carolina, people weren't using attack like that. Not here. Um,
Judgment's like, you want to see a burst, buddy? I got you.
yeah,
no, but I'll be honest. Thanks, it was because of GT that attack types were back in like full form. Like
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
I was
people were
actually
not.
I wanted to mention this because I had known about it, but today, like as I was cutting my grass and stuff like that, I was listening to TSO's podcast. Did y'all know she? I know you knew, Mike. Did you know she had a podcast?
No, I did not.
Arka. Yeah, and actually, I was listening to this exact conversation, kind of, and it kind of opened my eyes up to how much things are the same, even though they've changed. Because the episodes are like from 4 years ago or so. Um, but it did talk about how in I think what was it, the God series, and then Cho-Z, and it was just heavy stamina. And it wasn't
Mhm.
until GT came around with, just like y'all saying, with Judgment and Sway, however you say it, that they got attack back and they were excited and things like that. And then what was it after that? Super King came, which I feel like attack was decent in Super King also because of Rage.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. And even now, I feel like in the standard stadium, like Longinus, I feel like Longinus from GT on is still pretty legit. But yeah, as I was reading or listening to her podcast, or actually it was her and Wombat, um, it was actually pretty interesting to see, like, even though the generations have gone on, that we run into a lot of the similarities, and just in trying to improve the game, but also run into those constant stalemates with stamina and stuff.
And yeah, I'm planning to actually use this is why and Judgment tomorrow. Hope okay. So if anybody's listening, you already know.
Well, this won't be out until like for
Sweet.
like next week. Yeah, so it'll be so yeah. I'm looking forward. I hope they do a I'm sure they will. Like GT is the format I love the most because it's what I came into playing with. So
And what I do is and Judgment especially, right? I always keep extra judgments that I do not certainly use in tournaments so that you know how judgments rubber wears off. So you still
mhm.
want the sharp end. And then what happens is when you have a worn off judgment, you can use that for something else and you can use a sharp one for an attack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
So
wish I wish I was playing during that time. I feel like I like Cho-Z and GT. Those are my favorite too. Um, I wish I was heavier into that time, or I got in around then. I'm still happy for when I came in, but it was like right towards the end of GT, pretty much.
yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of opportunity with certain metal drivers and
The
like I
middle
think
ones,
yeah, I think Metal Universe might play a good role tomorrow. If
yeah.
yeah.
Let me ask you, because when we had the circuit in GA, um, Builder Rob, I can't remember his combo. Had the Metal Universe, but it did extremely well in that DV Stadium. Like it
Oh
surprised me.
yeah.
Um, and I wanted to ask, like, what were your thoughts with the DV Stadium? Like, did you like it or dislike it, or
No, I think it's really cool. And we were actually having a talk about this, Mike and I, before you joined the call.
okay?
Is like the idea was, and you were there. I was losing. I didn't do so well, and because
Hmm.
I was not prepared, and I've not tested, I've not battled properly on a DB stadium.
Hmm.
Which I see why people get upset is because oh I lose.
It's
So
but it's different. Yeah, I know.
but there's so much more potential, especially with more launch strategies. You can actually use attack if you know how to use attack on it, and there are so many drivers to help you do that now,
Hmm.
especially on the DB Stadium. I think, and like, for instance, one strategy I was explaining was if you just hit like if you do a flower pattern, which I know is hard to do, right? So you don't do a full like send. You do
Yeah,
a
yeah.
decent launch, which helps you do the flower pattern still, and you can push your stamina the bay which was at the center of the stadium out to the rim. And then when
Hmm.
your flower pattern's done and now you're going around in circles, you're going to
Yeah.
go and hit that bay in
Hmm.
the rim again.
Hmm. Yep.
So
Because
And
that could
you're
help.
saying when you're on that, after you've done your flower pattern, you're going sitting up on top and going around.
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
just
For
basically what it is in the DB Stadium. It requires a 2-hit combo to get the KO instead
exactly.
of the 1-hit combo from the standard stadium.
Hmm.
Yeah, it
And
requires a setup, which is harder to do. That's 100% an accurate thing. It's harder to do that,
Yeah.
but
uh,
you
and
have
it
to learn it.
upsets, yeah.
Right. It'll be easier to do the more you practice it and learn it.
Yeah.
You
I
What
know.
think.
happens is it upsets the snipers.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is. Snipers get
Yeah.
upset because, oh, now we can't just snipe at another bay and do a KO. Doesn't work anymore.
I'm gonna
Mhm.
message
So
Sniper and tell him now I know why he's upset.
Yeah, but it's like I think I said this last night. I was talking to Mike, but yeah, because once it does get on that ridge and it rides around, it's kind of like playing pool. Like you're nervous if you're when you're up there because that bait that's on the inside, as soon as you get around the pocket, it just taps you and then you fall just like the 8 ball would. It's it's pretty
yeah,
cool and pretty unique to see, but it does take I think it takes some skill, but I've also seen a heck of a lot of KOs in that stadium, even with stamina bays.
See though
Um,
that stadium changes the dynamics of the game and not just the area of attack. Like it changes the dynamics of the game in stamina and stuff as well. Because with on how steep that incline is,
mhm,
I remember watching in like your tournaments where even someone that's on drift is in the lower port is like step in the center and the other Beyblade is up top. But that
mhm.
Beyblade that's up top that's on bearing or something else would outspin it in the opposite spin matchup just because of its elevation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that, like it completely changes everything. So then
yeah.
it makes you wonder, well, should I use a lighter one so that way then theirs pushes me out of the center and now
Mhm.
I'm up higher and I get the advantage instead of having the
Yep,
heavier version of the Beyblade?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff would have to start being taken into consideration with that
very
stadium.
much so. Because
Mhm.
imagine you can, if you really know that, oh, I will lose a spin steal combo here, and if you can manage to get up there, you can avoid the spin steal thing and you will just win because of your solely your stamina. That helps.
100%.
Then
Yeah.
there's
Go ahead.
there's another one with attack, right? That I know people attackers see as a disadvantage, but when you in a standard stadium, you get your attack, you get your flower pattern, but after that you're just it goes around in circles and circles and circles. Here, once it's up on the ridge and it's been going around in circles, it still has when it slows down, it gets one more chance on attack.
Yeah, because it drops back down and it's
Yep,
like
it
boom.
drops back down. Yep.
And it picks up speed as it accelerates down it.
Hmm.
No, it drops back down and then like I've seen that happen. Like it comes in. Drift does that too.
Yep.
Drift, if you launch drift hard into that stadium, it'll go. It's actually beautiful to see. It does like a flatter flower pattern while it's on
The
like
ridge.
yeah, because it'll like come up. It's like it's skateboarding in there.
I
It'll spin in place and then drop down again and go to the opposite side. And it's actually pretty cool to see. But
I
yeah,
think Roar is going to be a really good layer for the DB Stadium because of its Roar is so well balanced in my opinion, and it's so underrated sometimes.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I
but I mean,
I like Roar and I don't like Roar. I've had my ups and
exactly.
downs with it.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like it's underrated because of that. It's not great, but
I thought Roar was
sometimes
legit. Why don't you like Roar, Mike?
No, I like okay, so Roar was
Oh,
my
you know what?
favorite.
I'm lying. I was thinking about Rage. My bad.
Oh, you're thinking
Wrong
about
R word.
Rage?
I
No,
was like, man, why y'all hating? Why y'all hating on Roar for? But I was thinking Rage. But Roar, I think Roar is all right too. But Why you think it's what's wrong with it?
I mean, did I was using Roar on like left spin drift for the longest time, but then the problem that I just had, like, just over here in Maryland, like we just ended up having a lot of prominence on like drift or Mobius happen. So
Oh
then,
yeah.
like, because of the round shape of prominence, the Roar wasn't really able to do as much against it. So I just had
Hmm.
to switch it up because of that. But that's really more just the meta shifting rather than the part being bad or anything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like I really enjoy Roar. But I will say this much here. I only really like the Bahamut core on Roar. Like I don't really like the Bahamut core on much else just because I feel like it's too loose. And
Hmm.
I've watched it burst on things that aren't rare. Like I feel like
Mm.
not having those burst stopper type things just kind of hurt it.
Mm.
yeah, I am actually going to try and come up with more Roar stuff because I in the DB Stadium, Roar has an ability to like counter attackers. It's insane how it can counter attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Mike Nightwing, his main combo that he uses is roar on over and bearing.
Hmm.
And for a while there, he was just like smorking me with it. Like most of the stuff that I would play against, I was just losing, and I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, I should have the better matchup here, even in same spin.
He was in DB, or y'all were using DB or the standard
No,
stadium?
that was that was even in the standard stadium, and that's also like when we would play at Blazers Kingdom, and we're playing in any stadium, including DB. Like his combo was really good, but I did end up realizing it wasn't so much as his combo as much as it was my launching. So I practiced my launching and found a launch style that works better for me, and it's been doing really well.
Mm,
Like both for most of my combos that I use, I've
yeah,
changed my launch style up.
yeah. I've noticed that even with myself. Like, I mean, we talked about it, but launching, I feel like there's so many variables to this game. And I learned something each tournament that I'm at, because you have the bay, you get familiar with the stadium, but launching is such a big factor. Like, it is huge. And I mean, you were talking about it earlier, Arca, like you go to a tournament, whether it's Rust or Nerves, and you'll know the right way to launch.
Yeah.
But if you mess that up, like you can have the perfect combo, you mess up your
Mhm.
launch, you'll just lose. It doesn't
Yep,
matter how good your combo is.
exactly.
Yeah.
And based on this, I actually have a thing to talk about, but I will bring it up like once you're done with all your questions, and I would like to
Oh,
bring
I'm
up.
done with questions, man. It's all free. I guess my last question. I will ask this one. So, you're GA Blader, and shout out to anybody from GA that's listening. I'm still gonna come down there and be hosting, and hopefully Rob, once he starts hosting again, will do the same. But what do you hope for the future for your area?
So, firstly, I will say that work keeps me so busy, but I will also try to actually host. I'm not at a WP organizer status yet. I
Hmm.
hope to be eventually, but I can at least host for 4 gaming tournaments and whatnot.
They
But
changed the way you become an organizer. It's a lot easier now.
It's a 10-question quiz and a phone interview.
gotcha. So,
Secretly, I know the answers.
I
That's
mean, I'll
secret.
give.
We on a podcast.
No, it's fine. It's not hard to even find the answers. You just
Yeah,
gotta
Yeah.
read the
that's
books.
legit.
So I mean, yeah, it's kind of for me, yes, it's tough because I have a lot going on, especially with my work. It's very unpredictable. My client is Amazon, and you guys know how that works.
Hmm.
So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it gets really busy with my work. But other than that, like I I think when James, you were here both times, you saw how there's actually a thirst for bladers here. There's no tournaments happening, and I'd want to change that. There's like
Yeah.
when we had what 24 signed up and like 40 showed up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the reason why I'm coming back, because I'm not gonna lie, like I get tired from traveling. Um, but it's like I want to help build the east side of North Carolina, because the west, like Frost and them host over there.
Mhm.
And I go to Maryland, but like Maryland is okay. Like y'all have God knows how many organizers, and then your
Yeah.
community is stacked. But Georgia, it is they are it. I mean, I yeah. What did you say? Like 40 people showed up to that tournament for the circuit.
Yeah.
It was a
Every
lot
time there's
of
been,
people.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Both times, like each time, it'll be a great turnout, and I know it's a great turnout because y'all aren't having tournaments there every month. Like I think I had two last year, and they were probably 3 months apart, and they were both stacked.
Yeah.
So it's like these are people that are seeing it on a whim. Just imagine if you had a steady flow. Like we probably had that parking lot and down the street filled up.
Oh
But
yeah,
I
then
want,
there's other
yeah.
different, yeah, there's so many parks here. We can always move on to a bigger space with whatnot.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
but
I was go on.
oh no, I was saying with GA. I mean, it was your question, but yeah, y'all definitely have a community down there. So, but yeah, like and I know you're busy, but I was just wondering what you hope for, so that way, even if I could try to help, or if you were talking to your community right now, even trying to tell them about organizing or something like that, like
Yeah,
anything
which
that
I
would
would
help.
hope, right? And I would actually, if there are players from Georgia listening, I would say that at least I know it's a little bit of a push. I know parents might not agree, but try to go to the North Carolina tournaments. One reason being they're competitive, they're nice, and the organizers are great. You become friends so easily. Eventually, you will get driven into like organizing and kind of being a part of this family. It
Hmm.
feels like that, honestly. Every time the East Coast, right? Like whenever you meet people, it's good to see them. Good to see certain bladers, and we have that. Uh, I know there's competitive. Uh, we are competitive, but I think certain people like you, me, Frost, uh, Blast, right? Rob, Crusher,
Kamek,
and
Rain,
Kamek, Rain. Oh my God, Rain! I really
Fire. What
respect
is it?
that guy.
Fire.
Fireblader,
Yeah, Fireblader.
Hmm.
right? And then even from Florida, right? Achilles and
CSC. Rain.
Caden,
Yeah,
yeah.
Caden.
So those guys, like every time, right? We battle, and immediately when we're battling, we're like super competitive. Like
Yeah,
we know we're super competitive against each other, right? When it's
yeah,
done, we're like laughing about it, joking about it,
yeah,
and that's a great thing. And I'm kind of glad that that's why I kind of come back every time. I know it's a drive. I know like how tiring it is for you too every time you're traveling
yeah,
because
yeah. It's all
but that's
good.
one of the reasons. And I want to like appreciate those parents who do it, right? If their parents are listening, like I, for instance, Blast parents are like every tournament they drive him like 4 hours, 5 hours. So something that they're not doing, but they still sit around and then bring like some
Yeah.
snacks and water for the kids. So that's
Hmm.
another good thing is like certain parents are also very supportive. So yeah, I mean, it becomes fun because now parents start talking to each other. It's a way to socialize. So I think
Yeah.
if like players from Georgia start kind of going to different tournaments in Florida and North Carolina, South Carolina, eventually I think like Georgia, the competitive scene in Georgia will go up.
Hmm. 100%. Because I mean that's the beauty of it, and I try to say this at all of my events. Like, if you like while you're there, definitely with the kids or and yeah, shout out to the parents, definitely for bringing their kids. But it's like if you're younger or you're a parent or something like that, because I have tons of parents ask me like, when's the next one or how can I do this myself? It's like you literally have your community right here. If you start networking and getting to know each other, it could be something as simple, even if you're not an organizer on the WBO, to get like a Discord or something or a phone number, be like, hey, do you want to get little Johnny and little Timmy together and we play together next weekend? And then you do that and somebody's gonna see it and they're gonna be like, hey, like you're playing Beyblade or this and that. Or you do become an organizer and you start building it. And I do hope that for Georgia because y'all have a big community, and I know I get tired from traveling. And I know you I know you love North Carolina. But it'd be nice if you could just drive 20 minutes down the road and have a great tournament. And then sometimes y'all could ride up here, we could ride down there and stuff like that, and that'd be sweet.
Yeah, I think what I'll do is I at least want to sign up for the WBO. If not, at least this is the thing I just realized is when the last tournaments happened, I should have like at least spoken to the bladers there, taken their names down and numbers, local
Mhm.
bladers. We could have done our own little small things where just meet and play. Why not, right?
Yeah.
And that way, at least they could be learning different combos and whatnot. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
I'm
think
com-
yeah, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead. Go ahead. You're good.
No, I think like yeah, that's something I would definitely I want to push, and in fact, I think like let me see if I can get that WBO thing and push a tournament, a small one to begin with, see how that looks.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to I'm coming back down there because I got some things in the works. I'm gonna probably talk about a little bit more later. Um
Hmm.
Not in the podcast. I'm gonna put an announcement out, but I plan on being back in Georgia either June or August.
Nice.
Um, and having an event. If you can make it, man, I'd always
Of
love to
course.
see you there.
Yeah.
If not, though, I understand because I do know you have a busy schedule. your schedule is similar to mine, as far as like just running around. But yeah, man, if you can make it, 100%. But yeah, like
So
that's
Is
go ahead.
Arca signed up for Dark Continent?
He works.
Rip.
Yeah, you are working, right, Arca?
I'm sorry.
For um for the circuit Dark Continent, you're working that weekend, right?
Yeah. So wait, which?
July 23rd and 24th.
But this is in uh July 23rd, 24th. But where are you doing that?
Raleigh, North Carolina.
So this is what's going to happen. I'm not sure. I will try to block off that weekend and come,
Okay.
but
Okay.
that's why I haven't signed up yet, which is I know it's a little hard, but because what happens is my projects pick up, and I just actually kind of came back to my old job, and I started this week, and
Yeah, I
now
remember you telling me.
I'm in a project management role. So what happens is I have to kind of overlook whole projects, and so when the
Hmm.
projects kick off, I'll have to travel.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't even know where I'll be, which it might be convenient. Say I'm probably in somewhere in the north. Who knows? But
Yeah.
yeah, that's why it's so unpredictable right now.
Yeah.
I've not had the chance to like finalize things because sometimes I'll have to work on weekends. Actually, a lot of weekends. So
Yeah. I'm only off like every other weekend. So I completely understand, man. And um there's gonna be plenty of opportunities in the future. Like I know we'll be
yeah,
definitely blading again, and there's gonna be like other events. Like we've been working on something that I think is gonna be pretty fun and pretty cool for the future, for the near future, and hopefully the distant one to come as far as Beyblade goes.
yeah.
Um Probably by the time this podcast is premiering, some of the information might already be out. But yeah, man, those were my questions. Now well, we kind of been openly discussing anyway. But what were you about to say? What did you want to freely discuss?
So fun thing, I don't know if this has been discussed before, is the adults Beyblading.
Um, Adults Beyblading.
Hmm.
I don't think.
Like,
I
what
think
about
we
it?
just
Are you thinking like separating it or?
No, not no no no. That's not what I meant. I meant
talking
um
about the community of adults that Beyblade.
adults
Or
Beyblading as and how people like how why adults are still Beyblading and why Beyblade is not a toy but also a sport and why it's like this is more for a lot of people who think that oh it's just a toy it's a phase and and that's something that I realized as a kid growing up and still loving Beyblades.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I think what I wanted to bring up is right now like there are adults like us and then there's Frost and we like a lot of you have kids man like and you still
yeah, yeah.
enjoy Beyblading and what people don't understand and in fact I have received both ends of it and I don't know if it's just me but I don't know if you guys ever heard of this but I've always heard where people were like oh are you why are you playing with toys
Yep.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. Mike's like, yeah. He said, yeah, before even the question got out. Yeah, we hear it, man. We hear it.
Yep.
and but I've also had some people who are curious. It's like, what do you do in these tournaments that you what happens? Like, what is competitive there?
Hmm.
But then when I start explaining, I'm like, okay, sit down. This is going to be a long talk because
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
you literally have to pull up a whiteboard and start like mark using a mark and writing down everything. As like there are so many parts, there are so many things. If it's imagine there are hobbies, right? Imagine if like I'm into cars, for instance, right? And I like to modify my car to make it say handle better or make it
Hmm.
faster around a track or a corner. This is pretty
Hmm.
much the same thing. You're either
Yep.
trying to make this thing faster or you're trying to make this thing handle better or you're trying it's just the same way of thinking, but the
Hmm.
parts are cheaper. So
Yeah, a whole
it
lot. Yeah.
so it helps it helps, and I feel like if kids are allowed to get into this competitive thing, they start realizing it's not just a toy, but it's also something that helps them think more. Like their
Yeah.
logical thinking starts growing, even if it doesn't. When they and somebody beats them and they get curious and like, what did you do?
Hmm.
Then there's always somebody talking to them saying that, you know what, if you do this, if you think about it this way, you can make
So
your Beyblade better.
so it's funny because we actually had so some of this in a way came up with Kay yesterday or Wednesday. Uh like he's traveled to Japan to play, and he was
Uh-huh.
saying how over in Japan the adults like encourage the kids to play and they get involved in it, whether they actually play or not. They get like heavily involved with their kids with it and support it, and
Hmm.
support even when they get older to keep doing the stuff. But
Yep.
Yeah,
over here in the States, it's like we all grew up on parents that didn't like we weren't really encouraged to keep doing this stuff. We were encouraged to grow up, go get a job, and take care of a family.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's really weird
Yeah.
because
It,
like our generation like getting older, we've all like a lot of our generations have come to realize like why do I want to work my entire life to not have fun?
mhm.
Like there's things that I enjoy, things that bring me nostalgia, and I just enjoy doing them. What does it matter if I'm 32 years old doing it?
yeah. I mean, it's like say playing Magic or Pokemon cards. It's just because it says Pokemon in it. It's there. You still have to use a strategy to play the game. It's
Right.
not just yeah, it's not just because it has a Pokemon on it doesn't mean because for instance, I know I have not watched the season, right? And I know Frost he does not watch Beyblade the show at all, right? Sometimes I don't know, but last I heard he said he never saw the show.
No, no,
But
no. It
so
doesn't.
it doesn't matter to a lot of us about the show, but actually about the game. So
Right.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Right, because that's what it is. It's a game.
Yeah. It's a game, and I call it a sport too because I
I
see
think
it
it's
as
a sport. Yeah,
yeah, I see it
Yeah.
as competitive. Like it's I'm glad you brought this topic up because yeah, like when we were talking to Kay this past Wednesday on the last episode, it is some cultural values. Like here, if anything, like we push our kids to do sports, something that we feel like will help them be have a better character, like team building and
Hmm.
or even the desire that one day they can become pro and make money or things like that. But I don't I won't say that we don't push like the fun aspect, but it's also in the sense that I think at least with the older generations of our culture, we don't they didn't look at like playing with toys or trading card games like Magic, Pokemon,
yeah,
Yu-Gi-Oh, and things like that as something that was um competitive or strategical, or something that takes like brain power or something like that. They looked at it as something that was, just a game, like just buying an action figure in a phase. And
exactly. So
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, it's like imagine like if you're playing soccer, you're working your body and like your calves and whatnot.
All right. Unfortunately, the audio cut out for a second, but just to bring you up to speed, Arka.Paul and I were just discussing about the mentality or just the skill that it does take when playing Beyblade. And sometimes it may get overlooked by adults or parents, and I get that. But that's pretty much what we were discussing, and then bring you in the speed of how I got to understand that Beyblading was more of a sport and very skill based and intellectual in a sense than what I initially thought. All right, let's go.
I was like, nah.
All right. Um,
Craig was stupid.
yeah, Craig just disappeared, but he came back. Craig is he records our conversations.
Craig
I
had to
hope I
use the
got that.
bathroom.
Yeah. But where I was at was I was like, yeah. So I let them actually play with it before Christmas, I think.
Hmm.
Um, and they were playing, they were having fun, and like they would argue and stuff like that. So Quincy's always he was beating my younger son, so I was like, I'm dad. I'm gonna go back there and I'm stronger. Let me just show that I could beat him. To keep my baby boy from crying and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
was like, I got your back, and I was losing, man. I was losing a lot, and 'cause- then I got intrigued, and I was like, how? I was like, I'm stronger than him. My Beyblade is bigger than him. He had Archer Hercules too, which was
Right.
pretty OP at the time. But I didn't know that, and man, one thing led to another. I was staying up to like midnight doing research on the internet, looking at Amazon, trying to get like good bays. I kid you not. You ask my wife. I went out the next day. Um, I left probably I dropped the kids off at school, and then I was out from probably like 7 o'clock in the morning from when I left the house all the way until I got them out of school at like 4. And I was bouncing around between the Books a Millions, Targets, and Walmarts looking for the perfect Beyblade combo because this was before I even knew about Takara Tomy. And that's what it was. And then I found out about strategy and the brain power, like you said, that it takes to play. And one thing led to another, and then boom, like we're here. But I think a lot of people don't see that, but it's up to us, like this podcast and our interactions with the community to let them know. And some parents they'll listen. I just had a dad that he tried to buy my entire store. Our last tournament, man, he fell in love with Beyblade hard. So some of them they enjoy it, they listen, and then others, it's not for them. It's not at the time, but I'm thankful that they at least bring their kids up.
Yeah. And like that's the thing about like blading is like it's not about like, you could be stronger, bigger, older, smarter, but you would still lose against a kid. It doesn't work like that anymore.
Grand
In the
Dragon.
stadium, yeah, in the stadium, it does not matter. In the stadium, the bays are the same. The age does not matter. Your strength does not matter. So,
Yeah, I once lost to stock Grand Dragon. I was pretty upset. Like I'm using an actual competitive combo, and he just stock Grand Dragon. Like he just launched and yeet me, and I just go straight into the pocket 3 times in a row. And I'm like, I
yeah, I
failed.
had a competitive comp and I got like I had a burst against a Union. Like I got burst by Union Achilles stock, right? Not Union Achilles.
Yeah, yeah,
I was a
yeah.
not
Oh, wait,
uh
I was confused. You got burst by Union or you got burst by
no 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 by the
Okay.
bay by the
The
combo.
Oh, okay,
And
Beyblade
okay,
Union
okay,
Achilles.
okay,
but
okay.
was no, that wasn't the Union Achilles. That was a Chosi Achilles and I was using a sparking bay and I still lost,
Wow.
right?
Yeah,
And it so it's cool and the guy knew nothing. He had a stock combo, but whatever he did, he launched quite well. And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
it. That's all it takes sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's not so another thing, right? That what people say is, oh, buying parts. Yes, it's a pain to buy a lot of parts, but
Yeah,
when you have the right parts, then you don't
yeah,
have to buy a lot of parts.
Right.
yeah.
Like
Sure.
for the only reason for myself why I buy like 2 to 3 of whatever's coming out is so I have a second of the part for testing
Oh,
purposes.
I do that too, actually. I one of my intention is to collect one and use one. So,
Right.
Yeah,
Like I'll get it so then I can like if I know like say I know bearing is good, so I've got 2 bearings, but I need to test out is over better than Giga.
mm.
I'll do the exact same combo and just swap that one part to see
Oh,
what
I see.
differences happen.
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah,
That's the only reason I end up buying more than one. But then of course I end up regretting it later because I'll reprint the part in like a random booster, and I'm like, well, I'm getting a random booster anyway. But
yeah, yeah.
but it's like, but at the time of the part being released, I needed to. So
Mm-hmm. Because you definitely want to get that testing done before everybody else, or you
yeah,
want it to at least like know what's the best to go into. But I'll tell you, like I know the buying the parts can get expensive, but when I compare it to like I said
Yu-Gi-Oh.
before, like Yu-Gi-Oh is nowhere near as expensive. Or even like well, we were talking about the culture in sports. I went to like my daughter's playing softball now, and I went to buy her like her gear. Like she needed sliding shorts, a helmet, baseball. I mean, softball bat. I you'll spin a grip for the entire season, so it's about $200 for the season, which lasts a while. But the bays, we're importing them, depending where you get them from, like 20 to $25 a month. You know, still this it's gonna be. I'm not saying like get your kids in a Beyblade, forget sports, but but I don't feel. I feel like I guess it's all relative. It's not as bad as other games. I feel like.
Yeah, and I think one thing that we should or we could do is imagine all of us at WBO, we can make like an appeal with Hasbro to use the Pro Series as an excuse to have an official Hasbro like championship. Like start with the North American championship, then go world. I mean, they're everywhere. Like
Yeah.
that would actually motivate people. Like if Hasbro organizes a championship and it's like in every Target there's a big banner saying that sign up for the championship. Like,
Yeah,
imagine a event like that bringing so many people. People will want to come.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
Well, yeah. Go ahead.
then parents will be like, you know what, this seems more legit. Because Hasbro's been doing nothing. The last time Hasbro did a tournament was in 2018, I think.
Yeah,
But it was not as big as what they used to do during like Metal Fight or during um Plastic. Like they've only been doing like one tournament for every generation. That made no sense. They should just keep doing one every year.
I
Right.
feel like Hasbro Hasbro has Magic, right?
Uh,
Uh, Wizards, which I think is part of Hasbro.
Yeah,
yeah,
so
Wizards is
I know that's their cash cow. Because I think about it like, um, I don't know, man. I don't know why they don't do as
but
much.
it's always like an investment. So the thing is, even I know they're slacking because you see, other than Pro Series, which is straight up a TT Bay, their parts, like stock parts, are so horrible. Like they don't care.
Yeah.
So if they were to actually do a tournament, and then a lot of kids were like, "Oh well, look, there was a championship." They say, "Hey, okay, so whatever, this guy's this year champion, and then next year we'll have another championship." So then kids will want to buy and prepare for the next championship. So you need to make that first investment where you're like, "Okay, we are doing this." And now kids are like, "Okay, now we all want to get into the game." So they'll start buying. It's always That's how it works. If you're not investing into your clients, like the customers are not going to buy your product.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, cause the worst part is like right now if I go into a Target around here, I see like the Beyblade stuff gets pretty much wiped out.
Yeah,
Like it gets
yeah.
bought a lot. So there's a big community for it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But they're just a bunch of little kids playing it, but they don't know anything about tournaments. Like they don't know to look on the WBO for a tournament or something. Like
Right.
they're all watching the anime and they're seeing these tournaments on the anime, and deep in their minds they're like, I want to be the number one Beyblader in the world.
100%.
So
Yeah.
they would be going to every tournament that they could.
Hmm.
Yeah, if
And
it comes on TV, right? Imagine
right. Like the TV's already a commercial for it, like the
Mhm.
show. So if Hasbro got more involved and was like, okay, well, here we go. Now buy this stuff here, the Pro Series, because like they could get introduced with the regular Hasbro stuff, but then once they go to a tournament that Hasbro hosts and they're losing to the Pro air quote Pro Series stuff, they'll just be like,
Hmm.
well, start buying the Pro Series and that can help you win because it's better material.
100%. Yeah. I think I don't know. I don't I've tried to think from Hasbro's point of view. Um I don't know why, and I don't know if it'll change because it's been 20 years, you
What
know.
what I find is so weird is Plastic Gen and Metal Fight Hasbro's just pretty much completely copy pasted over the entire system and everything, and didn't change anything. I know
Except for
Metal,
burst, yeah.
I know
My
Metal
bad,
Fight,
yeah.
I know Metal Fight. They changed a little bit, but then they were like, okay, we messed up. Here's the actual thing now. Oh,
Hmm.
okay, that's great. Why in Burst you completely changed the system, and then Burst became the most popular version of
Exactly.
Beyblade ever?
Yeah.
Like, you changed the system, and yet Burst is the most popular one ever. You could have just went with this straight from the get-go as exactly the same, and it could have just went all the way, like all the way. Like, they could have
Like,
had good tournaments and everything.
no, could you
Yeah.
imagine though? Because when they sold plastics and when they sold metal, because it was the exact same quality as uh TT, nobody had to get them from Japan, right?
Hmm.
So who made the money? Hasbro made the money from
Hasbro
all
did.
of that. And what Chrysler is saying, like what Mike's saying, is like now that Burst is so popular, if they kept the base exactly the same, then Hasbro would have made the money that TT is currently making from all of us, right? We
Yeah.
keep paying TT so much money, and then there's always the shipping, all of that stuff,
Hmm.
right?
So
Hmm.
I have a really strange like idea as to why Hasbro did it this way. Now imagine you go back to Plastic Gen and Metal Fight, and imagine like Hasbro's hosting tournaments for them, which I from according to Kay, they did. They used to host.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
imagine this. You're Hasbro, you're hosting a tournament. These guys are coming in and they're using Takara Tomy Beyblades because they got the ones that come out 3 months from now. So that's the problem I think they faced, where they're like, we can have tournaments and everything's the same as Takara Tomy, but people are just going to buy, like the competitive players are just going to buy Takara Tomy because they have stuff that's out 3 months before we let it out here in the States.
But I'd tell you though, if Hasbro had, if they were still releasing bays that are comparable to Karatomi's and they were running official tournaments, I would just get I would get what is officially able to be used, because there's some countries like this within the WBBA that they can only use certain parts that are released in their country, even though they can get earlier stuff and they'll be in unofficial tournaments. But for the official WBBA tournaments, they can only use what was released in their country. I think
Right.
Hasbro would still win in that aspect.
Yeah.
But it's
So
like because I mean, like right now, I feel like even if Hasbro did have tournaments, I wouldn't want to go just because I don't play with Hasbro base. And I would feel like I wouldn't do it. I would let my kids do it, but I would just feel like
so that's
th-
that's the point that I'm getting into, because
yeah,
look at right now, they've recently released Pro Series, right? And they started at the GT era, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Why did they start at the GT era? Because
Probably so
now
they could. Yep, yep.
because now DB is coming after DB. We have BU, and BU's supposed to be the end of it. So if
Hmm.
that's the end of it, now they're releasing the stuff at like where it should be. Where now all the players that only play Hasbro are going to be able to buy the Takara Tomy version of the stuff, and they
Hmm.
get the money for it.
Man, you know what kind of made me sad though? I hope it does not take them. I hope the gap is not as long as it takes for them to get from Cho Z all the way to Dynamite. Like as far as the releases for Pro Series, like if they're waiting and it's gonna be, because how many seasons is that? It's Cho Z, GT, Super King, and then DB.
Yep.
It's like four years. I do not want that long of a hiatus.
Well, they're moving. They're moving pretty fast with them.
They
Uh,
are. They're in GT right now, right?
and that hiatus is like they're almost done with GT. They're pretty much they just got to the infinite lock system, so
Okay. All
they're
right.
pretty close. Like,
Yeah.
I don't see them releasing the electric drivers, which sucks, but I understand if they don't. Like, the electric drivers were kind of
It's also expensive, right? And
yeah,
they have this. So that's the thing. Other US laws will stop it from selling this certain thing at a higher price unless they put it in a set.
right.
Yeah.
And the way Hasbro sells sets is with a stadium, so they would have to come up with a stadium, but then if that is like 100 or $150, nobody wants to buy it anymore.
No,
So
no.
I guess Hasbro's target audience is also like kids who like parents buying from a store, right? So it's not
It is.
actual enthusiasts buying
Right.
stuff. So
Yeah. It's.
uh,
I think I think it's definitely gonna have to be us, man. It's gonna have to be the community as far as for the competitive scene goes. As far as building it and growing it, and I mean
but what
that's
they
just where
could
we're
have
at.
done, what they could have done though with like for instance how they brought out the metal drivers before TT
Mhm.
did, like if they did all the parts, like sure it's the same way but you're doing it differently, but make it differently so that it's competitive. Then
Yeah,
the kids are buying it, and us, we would end up buying both TT and Hasbro because oh, Hasbro's done something really cool, but it's different.
yeah, yeah. I have some Hasbro stuff because I
Yeah.
think like some of it looks cool and it's unique.
Hmm.
But I definitely won't compete with it. Um,
Yeah.
because I know like for one, I mean you can't mix parts within the WBO. But
Hmm.
for two, it's like it's definitely not competitive. Although Arca, do you remember this? There was a kid or someone who had either a Hypersphere, Hasbro Bay, or something at the circuit event. We played in the DV Stadium, and they were
Yeah.
winning. Do you remember what he had? What that
Um,
kid had?
I
Either way, yeah. Go ahead.
don't remember right now, but yeah, I remember it was a Hasbro combo. There was like one of the normal Hasbro combos that wasn't a Pro Series.
Hmm.
It was
I
doing
think it.
quite well.
Yeah, it was doing really well because Quincy he came up to me and he was like, "I just got beat by like a Hypersphere Bay," and I was like, "What?" You know, but
Yeah, it
that's
was a Hypersphere Bay, yeah.
but that stadium. The stadium it has a lot of dynamics to it. That's probably gonna make people even angrier though. Like Hasbro's good in this. Like it sucks. Like come on, man.
Yeah.
Jeez. But but yeah, I think it.
And that gives me an idea actually. Like we should probably have, and Frost did mention it once. Like, we should have a Hasbro only tournament, but no
I
Pro
think about
Series,
that.
no
Yeah,
Pro Series. Like just basic Hasbro parts.
I would be down for that because there's some cool looking Hasbro bays. There are, but I'm
Yeah.
not taking them to a WBO tournament because I'm not just trying to get burst the entire time. Like I'm competitive, but every now and then I like to play for the fun of it, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like the Hasbro. Well, I still know I would come there trying to win, so I'm just gonna be looking for legit Hasbro bays. But I got one. I don't even know what it's called, but it's like black and red, and it's pretty dope.
You know what the
It's
worst
pretty
Yeah.
part
dope.
is? Like layer wise for the Hasbro burst base, it's like they got worse as time went on.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the original like dual layer like
Had
Hasbro base are good.
Yeah.
They
Then
had metal on it. They used to have metal, and then
yeah.
they removed metal completely. And then they at least had the full plastic, but then they started carving the plastic out until it was
Oh
a hall.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's hollow, and I don't. I feel like I don't know if it was to save money or if there were law issues or what, but I don't know.
Could have been both because yeah, I think they did wanted to like, but that's the thing, right? If metal was a problem, they shouldn't have any metal parts in there.
Which
Hmm.
would include the disc then.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
but
I was thinking like imagine because I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I look at these TT bays and I'm like, there's no way. There's no like when Rage came out, I was like, man, I can't see this being sold in United States just because of
right.
how, or they would probably have like a 18 years or 17 years and older can only play with this toy because it was dangerous. Like if that
Hmm.
got into every like 3-year-old's hands, there'd
Oh,
probably
that
be a
yeah,
lawsuit. Yeah, so
exactly.
it's like, so I could see just from the way things are here. I could see some aspect, but you're right, man. Yeah, some of the bays were getting carved out. They're pretty much hollow plastic.
No, it's
But
definitely cost cutting. It's like so evident with every part that comes out is like they don't have a budget. They don't have a
yeah,
good budget for development.
yeah, it is. It is what it is. On the bright side, though, like I said, like we do have us, and like I said, like I've been working on something. I talked to Mike, and everything is a work in progress. Like what I have learned through getting involved in Beyblade, um, because I like to just, um, like I like to just go, and
Mhm.
all my traveling and stuff like that. But I've learned to kind of slow down a little bit, like as far as like, because I need to build up the local area on the east side of North Carolina, and then things can grow from there. Because Maryland, Mike's hosting every single month, and the community is going to continue to grow. And he has Michael Nightwing doing the same thing. Florida, like Florida's insane. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They started with like 8 people. Now they have like, I mean, Conch did his thing with Beyblade Premiere, but
Hmm.
even after that, you know, like those guys are still. I don't know how many tournaments they have posted up right now. You know, just for everything from they have Hasbro only tournaments, they have Metal Fight tournaments. They do standard. I don't know if they do classic. They might. Um, but those guys they love Beyblade, and their
Yeah.
community is surrounded in it, and I feel like that's a big part of what we need or what we will continue to do to get things growing. And people that do it for fun, people that do it competitively, or a little bit mixture of both. Like I do think it's gonna get there, man. Because I think from our generation, like I didn't know you were 31. I'm 33, and
Yeah.
yeah, I figured you were kind of up there with me because Frost is also like 33, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and Mike 32.
Oh, I'll be 33 in a couple months.
30, yeah, about to be 33, and we all. I say this every episode because it's true. Like we're the adults now, we're the parents now, and like we can make these changes because we know how cool this stuff is. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And it was cool to us as being younger and we didn't have that opportunity. But now I raise my kids up to be like anime geek nerds and this and that. If they want to play
Yeah.
soccer or sports, I let them do that. If they want to be a part of a chess club or play with Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon, I do all of that, you know, because it's fun to me. So
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, that's what we need to like carve our paths, yeah. And it's yeah, that's we have to just figure out how to reach out to more adults and start realizing that. And I think we're doing a good job at it, especially like you, James, doing these tournaments and as a parent actually reaching out to other parents and explaining to how this makes sense and it's so much fun for them.
yeah, thank you, brother. Thank you. Um, yeah, Mike does the same. I think Mike, Shindog, Frost,
Hmm.
are we all the parents, organizers?
I mean,
I think
or
so.
organizer wise, I mean, there might be more, but you just never
Yeah,
know.
active.
Yeah.
Active, yes.
Yeah, unless there's and my apologies if I'm not shouting you out. There's no one I could. I don't know how old Virtuous. I think it's Virtuous Circle. He's also in Cali, and then I don't
Yeah.
think Zector has any kids. And then Florida, there's a lot of organizers, but I think Conch was the only um one
Yeah.
that had a
Gosh.
kid. I'm not
Hmm.
sure if anybody else does, but yeah, like it is it is legit, man, and growing and
Oh,
expanding the community.
I didn't even
Go
see
ahead.
that. Shindog's doing a experimental DB event.
Yeah, I saw that right before we got on the phone, like right when we were leaving
Oh,
our house. Yep.
Hey, what's
Yep.
that? Like, what kind of event is that?
There
he
what it go
it's an
ahead.
unranked tournament where he's experimenting with the DB stadium.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Interesting.
They're gonna
Interesting.
test it out. What I noticed, I seen the trend. It'll usually be Cali will do something, and then like Toronto kicks it off, and then it usually like comes into play, like just like that. Or it'll usually be no. This is how it goes. Maryland will do it first,
Yeah.
and then Cali will do it, and then Toronto will do it, and then it's a thing. Yep. Because who had the first one? Was it you, Mike, or was it Deceased Crab
For what?
for the DB Stadium?
I did the first DB stadium. Crab did a 3-on-3.
Okay. in the DB Stadium? Or
No,
the
no.
okay,
He just did. He was just testing 3-on-3 to see if it went any faster than anything else.
okay, yeah, because I know y'all usually test first. Y'all be talking about it. Callie will get on board. Although I think they may have done 3-on-3 first because I know Shindog
Yeah,
really
yeah.
likes that format.
I know. I
And
know. Toronto for a while was testing out both pick three, choose one, and 3-on-3. Like
yeah,
they were doing that. Like I think first.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that was K. He was really testing out those formats and seeing how they were.
I didn't think I was gonna like it. I look back at the old post because I fell in love with 3-on-3. But I at the old post I was looking and I was thinking like pick three, choose one was gonna
Yeah.
be it. But I love 3-on-3. What is your favorite format, Arca?
Uh, I actually 3v3 was interesting. It does throw off my game, but I
It
think
does.
it gives the other person, like, you both of you get more opportunity to work on skill
Here's
and
the question.
actually come up with better combos,
Well,
like
here's the
balanced
question.
combos.
How often have you played 3v3 Arca? Like how many times?
So I think the first time was at the State Clash, and then the next time was at the circuit. So
Right. So you probably
So those are the only two times you played it?
right.
yeah.
It's definitely probably something you have to play a little bit more to really like get a good feel on it.
Hmm.
Oh no, I that's what I'm saying. It's challenging and I love it. So I love challenge, even if I lose.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a good
Yes.
attitude.
Well, that was like I personally think pick three choose one is the most skill intensive one, just because like you like I always say, like me and Geetster at the one we had here, we built a pick three deck to kind of make anyone that was actually like competent enough at the game, they would get forced into picking a specific type of option that they had. So then we automatically knew what we were gonna pick to be able to beat that option.
True, but what happens with that is it's again mind games, and like if you've played it a certain person a lot of
Right,
times, you know what they're
right,
gonna pick, and that's what happens in most of our tournaments. But
right.
like a 3v3, it's luck. Like the order, you just don't know,
Yeah,
and
the real skill intensive part for 3v3 comes in the form of the reshuffle.
Yep, the shuffle. When I
Mhm.
figured that out, that's what made me Shindog. I say it, but that's what made me. That's what opened my eyes to it. Because at first I was like, "Nah, man, 3v3 is stupid. It's just, it's just single bait 3 times." I was like, "I'm not about this life." Until like he explained it to me, he was like, "No, man. Imagine it's 2-1. You're down one. You've seen their base. You know what they have. What's the best strategy that you can come up with to try to get those next 2 points?" And after he said that, and that's how I play every time. Like a lot of times though, I'll go like just 3-0 with the points just from the way I have my base. But it is I love it, and I might love it too because it's the format I do the best in. But it's enjoyable.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something we should like experiment with in WBO eventually. But I know it gets more and more complicated the more rules you bring in. But
Well,
Yeah.
that's why I just mostly feel like it needs to be more broader. Like I don't like I personally don't like the idea of standardizing just one stadium and stuff like that.
right,
Mostly because first off, we advertise for 13-year-olds to be organizers. I don't know any 13-year-olds that's going to be able to buy one, even up to three of the standard Takara Stadium.
yep,
So
Mhm.
they'll never get to host a ranked event of their life then at that point, and that's unfortunate. I mean, it's true though. It's unfortunate, like
yeah,
because they don't make them anymore. So how are you going to get them once you can't get them anymore?
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
like it's like the BB10 for Metal Fight right now. How much are they?
Yeah. I've I don't even know if you can find them really.
Right.
I know I have noticed that the WBO And it was from the conversation from Kay, as well as some things that I've seen on the site. They are slowly opening their doors.
Yeah.
And things are definitely changing for the better. I think in they're talking amongst themselves. They're listening to us as organizers, which is sweet, you know. And they're making things happen. Because I mean, as soon as they made it 3-on-3 in the WBO, because I mean, I talked about the FGC, and you may not notice, Arca,
Mhm.
but I have the FGC. I've been doing the WBO events because they implemented 3-on-3, pick three, choose one, um, along with standard. And I was like, only reason why I made the FGC really was because I wanted to compete in a
Without
way that,
okay.
yeah, without single bay, you know, and let it be
Yeah.
competitive. Because I felt like single bay was just so, it was random with luck. And
Mhm.
I get it, like there is some skill, but you have to do a little bit.
It was random luck in the worst way because
Yeah,
Yeah.
once you walked up with your one combo and your opponent just had a combo that straight dominated yours, you felt like, why do I even play this matchup? Then I might as well just give them the win and save time.
exactly,
Exactly. That is
exactly.
exactly very true.
Yeah,
But I will say for finals, I think the deck thing is really cool so far. I mean,
I do like that.
um,
I like
I
deck
think deck is the
except for
most.
the draw issues right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they probably need to come up with a draw rule, but I would say that deck out of any format, WB WBO, WBBA, whatever, is the most strategical format. You have to know what you are doing in deck format.
yeah,
You
exactly.
have to know.
You want to know what's actually funny, James? We with all the people that we have talked to, and when we've brought up the idea of like the DB Stadium and stuff, you know, most people we talk to like the idea of it. Have
I,
you
I
Yeah.
yeah. I
have you
think.
noticed
Well,
that?
I go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like a lot of the more skill intensive players actually are for the DB Stadium,
Mhm.
and like, don't get me wrong, I definitely like some of the people that are arguing the DB Stadium, but it's almost as if what they're arguing is just you're killing my style of playing, and that's like not fun for me.
Mhm.
But does that like if you only know how to play with one style, are you actually good at the game?
Yeah.
That
I
is
think.
that is true.
Yeah. Yeah. I think.
Like
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
like it gives opportunities to say a new blader comes up, like a new kid, and that kid's like a pro on a DB stadium, beats everybody. That gives the path for that new kid to be the new champ, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
So
It's new.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. New generations and just adapting over time. But I've said this, Mike. And it's sad. It's a way of life. It's like the people who are like so loud and feel so strongly about their opinion, no matter what, tend to be the loudest. But that they're not the majority. Because I was like on that thread, it's really only like three, maybe four people who are blowing up. Everyone else, everyone else is being quiet. And then when we talk to everybody up here, they're like, "Yeah, man, like let's play, let's do it." I mean, Japan, an entire country is playing with that stuff. Most of the world, Asia,
Yeah,
where Takara Tomy is, the format that we kind of follow, or definitely the base that we play with, are using that stadium. So
right.
at that point, it's like, and I get it. Like I'll even admit it myself. Like I still love the standard stadium. I still really like it. I like using the attack in that way, but I know some of that is also because of comfort, and I can
Right.
admit that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's comfort, and I feel in it that way. I think there is, for right now, there is some luck in the DB Stadium, but I think over time, some people will be able to develop a method, a method to that madness, and but we won't be able to see it until like people start adapting and getting into it. But in the event that the WBO does bring it in, you're going to see it because at the convention that I was just at, I don't know if I've said this before. Um, everyone that was coming up to play Beyblade because we were just doing free battles and stuff like that.
Mhm.
They weren't involved with the WBO. They didn't know anything about it. They just loved Beyblade, and it was like childhood nostalgia, this and that. I had 3 stadiums out. They always chose the DB. I don't know why. I think it's because it's the biggest or coolest or whatever. But that was something cool to see because we have as in an attempt to do an outreach to new players and the new community. They're not going to know anything about a standard stadium. They're not going to care about it. Those are the kids that are going to come in and play in a DB stadium and find something out that none of us even saw before, you know? And I think that's pretty cool in and of itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like one of the coolest stadiums that I've ever played in, that's Takara Tomy, was that the huge one that they sell for $500.
Oh,
I would, yeah, that's the, I think you can have like 5 bays in it.
is
Huge.
that the one? Which one is that?
I forget what it's called, but it was very rare too. That's probably why it was $500. They didn't make too many of them,
Oh man.
but you can have like 5 or 6 bays in it. It's like ginormous
Mm.
stadium.
Well, like what it is that I just really want to see, like, the stadiums just be more open. Like I don't even care if it's Hasbro or Takara Tomy. Like I want to see kids be able to play in what they want to play in. And
Exactly.
because the problem is ranking is a drawing for playing. Like people are drawn to want to play in ranking, but there are some people, a lot of people, that are basically like, well, I can't host because I don't have what I require to host, but I don't want to host unless I'm hosting ranked because I want to get some ranking in.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the tough part, like rank is definitely a gift and a curse because it draws people in, but it also is one of the reasons why we have to be strict. Because I'll be honest, I do want people to play and then to be open. I am not for them opening up complete and all of the Hasbro stadiums for rank because I feel like that's going to be too chaotic. Like
Oh,
Hasbro has,
yeah.
So it can be
man,
and it can't be
yeah,
because like you really got to think about it. Like if one area of players are all just using whatever random Hasbro Stadium number 29, like what does it matter if they're using it? It doesn't affect you.
No, but what we could do is like it should be allowed, but in that tournament, that's the only stadium, right? So that
Yes,
way
yes,
everybody is, yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like I don't like the idea of mixing stadiums in a tournament anyway. I think all tournaments should be using whatever stadium they choose. That's the stadium used for all of that tournament.
Yeah.
yeah. I guess I'm
And
thinking in the concept of like I'm thinking in the concept of rules and like rank. If I'm playing with attack style Beyblade, or if I'm using like an attacker or even anything that's like getting KOs, but then this other region KOs isn't a thing because they're playing at some Hasbro stadium that doesn't have pockets.
So
Why
learn
am
how to
I being
so,
compared to them?
so learn how to play with a different kind of bay.
it'll be like a different, yeah, that's exactly. It becomes more competitive because now they have to figure out what to do for that stadium. Like, I
Yeah.
will be honest, my favorite and the most fun I had in a Bay Stadium was the Hasbro, what was that? The Hypersphere one with had like 2 levels. I forget
Hmm.
what it's called, but it has a ramp from the bottom that takes you to the top, and then there's
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah. The like vertical drop or whatever it is.
yes, oh my God, that was so much fun because imagine an attack type goes up there and then comes down crashing from the top.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. That the most fun I had in a
And
bay battle.
you know what's funny? People are upset because attack like in like a Hasbro stadium where you don't have pockets or something like some of those stadiums. They're
Yeah,
upset because well I can't get a KO. Well, what's the other thing that attack type could do? Smack it into the wall and burst it.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like
My
attack.
That's
thinking with it though is like for as far as like the rules go, because you're not the rules right now, the generic
Right.
rules for in this stadium, like if you get a KO, that's 1 point. But in this plethora of other stadiums that don't have any like legitimate
Legitimate
pockets,
KO.
it's like when, huh?
Like the ones that don't have pockets to get a KO.
Yeah, you won't have to write a whole nother set of rule sets, but you have to do something. And then, like I said, like the slingshot stadium, like what are you gonna write for the rules for that? Because the one with like the double decker or like the double sides, But Beyblade goes down to the bottom, and it's just like, okay,
So
whatever, and but there have to be for a standardization of play, I think, when it comes to ranked, that I can see, or that is something that I
that
would not be for.
that is why the only way it works is with Takara Tomi's WBBA's word set on how KOs work, where basically it has to touch something that's not the stadium. So a KO for a Hasbro Stadium is when the Beyblade gets yeeted out of the stadium.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
And even a pocket is basically when it hits the bottom of the pocket, not the wall, right?
no, that there's if you use a Hasbro Stadium that has pockets like that in a Takara Tomy tournament, it's basically you look at it more as, oh, that's just a trap that's just going to drain your stamina and you lose that way.
Mhm.
That's it. It's not a KO. It's just a gimmick of the stadium that will cause you to run out of stamina and you'll lose by outspin.
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
that's just how they view it. Like, yeah,
But I do understand what James is also trying to say is like, for
'cause
instance, I think if you keep it dynamic, what happens is one way of doing it is it's like dynamic rules, and whoever organizes sets up the rules and goes up to um, the WBO and gets it verified. And W is like, okay, this looks good, but they can't go through all the rules every time.
right,
So dynamic makes it gives more possibilities for loopholes when it
right.
comes
mhm.
to ranked tournaments, which
And with
I see. Yeah.
some things, like I could see, like I would be. I feel like then luck in some aspects will become more of a factor with that, because I am thinking about the Hasbro Stadium too with this. Um, with that, I feel like it's simpler because that's one. I mean, the Hasbro Stadium. That's one stadium. If it's hitting the back wall, cool. There's not like a legitimate KO. It goes into the pocket, comes back in the fight, cool. And I know when they were doing the testing last time, they said, yeah, a lot of them ran out of stamina and this and that. But the key to getting a burst is soft launching someone else that is trying to yeet their Beyblade. Not the key every time, but if you're trying to hard launch and someone just soft launch, you know what I'm saying, it's in opposite spin, you end up self bursting. But if you weren't trying to do that and you end up getting into the pocket of the Hasbro Stadium, and then you just manage to pop out, and then you burst your opponent in that instance, and then you won. I'm not saying that it is wrong. Like, no, like it's cool, but that factor of luck, just it goes into more luck than actual skill, because you're not skillfully
I
trying to get
agreed.
yourself KO'd. You're not
Agreed.
skill. Yeah.
It's a more fun stadium. Like they're more fun stadiums, but they're not really competitive. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. So I guess
Right. No, I get it.
I don't say it should. I think like we can have a number of stadiums that should be allowed for just like like ranked stuff, and for unranked, go wild, right?
So like, would you be thinking more of like Hasbro stadiums that have pockets, and then you
So
could make a rule involving pockets?
I would suggest, like, say, for instance, like we have the standard and then DB, like, and I would even open up to the Sparking Stadium.
The Dash
Uh,
Stadium.
Yeah. All like Takara Tomy pretty much though.
yeah,
All Takara Tomy stadiums pretty much could
all
be.
TT stadiums and the Pro Series. That's it.
Yeah.
And then when you start your tournament, like when you set it up, you decide which stadium and get it approved, and
The
then stick to the stadium for the whole tournament.
like
Makes it different.
it's like I said, like, so in all reality, like, the only reason I would want them to open up to all stadiums is only for the simple fact of allowing more people to organize.
Yeah.
Because I, like I said, I want to see more people organizing and this thing grow. And if organizers are allowed to be 13 years old, they're probably not even gonna have the pro stadium half the time. Like, yes, it's in
Mhm.
Target, they can get it, but like in Target, it's still like $50 for it to get
Yeah,
that set.
it is.
So, it's still a obstacle for them. Whereas they do have in a Target the regular orange or green or whatever 4 pocket regular stadiums that they have that are $10. They could afford those.
Mhm.
so then they could host tournaments in them.
Yeah.
Another thing. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say quickly. I do agree with that. And the only thing I was saying as far as like I agree that every stadium should be able to be used. I just think when it comes to ranked versus unranked, there has to be. I feel like there has to be a difference for that. For unranked events, yeah, I want them to open up the doors. I want them to let them
Unranked event
play
is already allowed.
Yeah, and whatever. Yes, but for ranked, I don't feel the same way when it comes to ranked. And it's not even the fact of like me being hey, I want to play against
See, I
it's
think
not me thinking that I'm going to go and play in those stadiums. It's not that. I am thinking more about the tediousness with the rules in that and how you're
Yeah.
going to
See, I think I need to be more specific when I'm talking about it because my brain is instantly going to those $10 stadiums when I'm thinking about ranked.
Yeah.
Because I'm not thinking about the Switch Strike Stadium and all those random, wonky stadiums of Hasbro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of their standard stadiums that they sell on the shelf.
No,
Yeah.
but I think what we're going with this is like, yeah, if it's the standard stadium, go ahead, you can organize a tournament, but just like go ahead and do an unranked one. And if you want to do a ranked one, here's another idea. Now I know that all of like we don't do paid tournaments anymore, right? Very few people are actually taking money for tournaments now, which is a good
Yeah.
thing because I mean, yeah, we don't want that for kids. Um, so, but WBO still has some funding and some money. And then I know pretty much all of us have jobs. We can all kind of chip in some money and kind of buy one stadium each for WBO. And then whoever wants to organize, maybe like for organizers, WBO could at least send them each one stadium and kind of
Yeah.
expect the organizer to have one stadium of their own. So at
Yeah.
least they have two stadiums to go ahead with, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something I feel like WBO should do on their part. But again, not that the burden's on them. They can do a funding, right? And like an open source funding, and we can put in money for that, right? We can. I mean, for us, another $40 each, not a big deal.
Right.
40 to
Yeah.
$50, yeah.
I wrote up there for that. I was like organizer kits. I even offered it. I have
Mhm.
no problem going. I was gonna. I mean, shoot, anybody listening, it's still a thing because it's gonna help for the WBO to grow, the Beyblade community to grow, and to get more organizers on there to have more tournaments. If you are interested in becoming a WBO organizer and hosting a tournament, I cannot get you to standard stadium. Those things are crazy expensive. And I wasn't handing out just the DV stadiums, but if you want to do the unranked for right now, I have no issue getting like the Hasbro stadiums, giving you that, helping you out with some prizing and stuff like that, because that is a big thing. Like you need the basics to run a tournament and having that all that responsibility. I mean, it's enough responsibility running a tournament as a 13-year-old. And then you
Yeah.
have to get all the gear and the equipment and stuff like that. And it's tough. I get it. But yeah, but hopefully, yeah, the WBO can get into a state where they are doing more of that. But
Yeah,
we'll see. Time will tell.
that's definitely something I want to see. I want to see the WBO be able to help a little more.
I mean, and in turn, we help WBO, right? I mean, that's
Right.
how the
Yeah,
community
yeah,
works.
yeah,
So,
100%.
Yeah, no. I'm not going to sit there and look at the WBO and be like, screw you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so yeah.
It's all love. Um, yeah, man. So I say we're coming up on time. I'm gonna get my baby girl home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did y'all have anything else?
No, I think this was a very good talk. We kind of covered a lot of things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had fun,
And
man.
what
It's
I
my
want to say especially is thank you, James, not just for like putting us on this call, but actually live, keeping this community alive, actually doing tournaments, going everywhere, and like, and people who do not know James personally, he's like one of the nicest guys. So
Well, thanks, man.
yeah, so
I
yeah,
appreciate that. Um, yeah, thank you, brother. Yeah, thanks to both of y'all. Uh, thank you, Beyblade community. As always, we're gonna continue to keep doing this as long as we can. As far as a podcast, hopefully, I'll be hosting tournaments until I'm too old to be hosting. But continue to get out there, grow your community. Um, like I said before, if you go to a tournament, try to network, get to meet and know people. So even if you're not a WBO organizer, you can even get someone's phone number or get in Discord and y'all can meet at the park because anybody that sees you playing may get interested and you're building your local community there to build something bigger and greater.
Actually, real quickly, I have a quick story about that. Me and Mike Nightwing
Yeah.
were practicing at a park, and a couple little kids came up and got interested, and we started teaching them, and then their parents came up, and we started showing them, and we turned them on to the websites where they could buy Takara Tomy products and everything like that. We turned them on to
Nice.
WBO. So,
Nice. Yeah. Cause
yeah,
I mean, yeah, that's what it's about. I love when that happens. I love seeing it. I love teaching. And it's just enjoyable. Just like Mike
And
said, just like Ark has been saying. Go ahead, Mike.
that was me. I was just saying that buy
Or Ark.
when you buy only from 4Gaming. Just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, for
Thank you. Yeah, that's FOUR-GAMING.com. But yeah, our link as well as Crisis Crushers YouTube is down in the description. Arca, do you have a YouTube or you have any website or anything?
I am I have a Beyblade Instagram that I barely use, so I am very much out of that right now. But when I do have one, I'll definitely spread the word.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Yeah, just let me know and I'll update it or anything like that. If you're in GA, come to the battles. Arca will be there. A very great blader. But once again, the goal, everyone build your local communities to help increase the community as a whole. Thank you all for listening and take care.